Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting adventure at the Hub World. Today's quest will have us covering everything Batman. My name is Matteo, and today our party members are
Gino.
Jules.
Whether you're joining our adventure from YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, be sure to give us a like and a follow. Now, I'm going to kick it over to Giuliano here, and he is going to explain our new podcast format.
Hello, everybody. So we talked a bit about this last episode, how we have a few different formats that we're going to be doing in our podcast moving forward. And one of these games is the game that will be replacing our icebreakers. So now we've turned that into a whole game called 20 Questions. So we're going to take a topic, and somebody's going to prepare 20 questions about that topic, and we're all just going to answer and just share our opinions. So these aren't questions like trivia questions. These are questions like if you had tuned in back when we did our Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary, 35 questions about the Legend of Zelda. It's very similar to that format. We'll throw a link here for you to that Zelda 35th if you want to check that one out. But that's what we're going to be doing today with Batman, is we're going to be doing 20 questions about Batman. And I believe, Matteo, you've prepared 20 questions for us.
Yes, I did. So the first series of questions are going to be focusing around the Batman. We all love that movie, so I figured that
Great.
we would just organize a cluster of questions at the beginning just to center around the Batman. So in case something does, like we do spoil something, just full spoilers to the Batman. If you haven't seen it, go see it. What was your favorite performance by an actor in the Batman? Would anyone like to start?
I have to pull up the cast list because I don't know any of the actors' names. I actually really like Jeffrey Wright's interpretation of James Gordon. It was such a refreshing take on the character. Well, we all know James Gordon is a good cop in a sea of bad cops in Gotham, and we really got to see Jeffrey really explore the character of James Gordon. Really unlike a lot of the other Gordons that we've had in the past. In a lot of other Batman movies, we've had James Gordon already in his role as the commissioner, but we actually get to see him as Officer James Gordon here, and seeing all of these like crooked cops and criminals are running amok, and seeing his kind of growth as a character as well, from like, hey, everyone, all of my friends are really cool people and doing the job right, and yeah, okay, there might be a few bad cops among us here, just to see him go to like, holy crap, this goes way deeper than I thought, and the people that I thought I could trust, I can't trust anymore. It turns out this Batman guy is really doing a good job for us here and helping root out all of the corruption in this city. So I really liked his performance as Gordon.
Yeah. If I can add on to that, because I was gonna say Jeffrey Wright, I'll say a different one now. But Jeffrey Wright's Gordon was fantastic, and like, because I've heard a lot of people say like it's very refreshing to see him not in his commissioner role. I mean, technically it's the second time we've seen that in live action, because Gary Oldman was similar. But what I did really appreciate about this interpretation was less so the fact that he wasn't commissioner, and more so whereas Gary Oldman's um, Commissioner Gordon, or not Commissioner Gordon, Gordon James Gordon in the Dark Knight trilogy was kind of like teaming up with Batman, but he was doing it behind the scenes, and so he never really had to face the kind of stigmatization by his peers of working with the Batman. I liked how from the very get go they established, okay, Gordon is working with Batman, even though his colleagues aren't necessarily approving of that, but he's like kind of like, no, this is the right thing to do. And I like that kind of um, relationship that they had, where he's like not really the commissioner yet. He's still lower in the force, but he's at the forefront, being very like forward about what he's doing with Batman. Like, he's not trying to hide it.
Yeah.
And I like that. But just to give a different answer, I really, really liked Colin Farrell as Penguin. I thought it was just it's Scream Penguin. Like, everything about it was Penguin. You can't even recognize Colin Farrell in the movie. He looks completely different. And it's incredible how he was able to still act and portray the character despite having that amount of prosthetic on his face. Um, but I really think he stole the show, like, completely. Like, like many characters stole the show, but Penguin was definitely one of them.
And he's getting his own series, which is really
Yeah.
exciting. They
Very
officially
exciting.
ordered it after the movie came out, and it's going to be on HBO Max, but it'll be here in Canada on Crave. But yeah, what a performance! Like I couldn't even tell it was Colin Farrell also, and like even I thought the prosthetics, especially in the daytime scenes, would have been a lot more noticeable. But I was surprised. I like they still looked really really good with all that light. So, uh, you guys both ended up saying my top two picks, but another one, because like obviously Robert Pattinson was fantastic as Batman, but and like I feel like that is too that's too safe of a route. But I think another character that really stole the show for me was John Turturro's Carmine Falcone. And they call him Falcone, but I'm not going to do that. That's not how you pronounce it. So, uh, John Turturro, I've seen him in so many movies. Like he's been in the Transformers movies. He was in You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Like he's generally like he can do both comedy and uh like serious acting. And I feel like I don't think he was in any of the trailers, so like we didn't really get a sense of what he looked like or how he was going to perform the character or how he's going to portray the character in the movie. But what they did with him, he was just so cold and sinister, and he had like a lot of funny moments as well. Like a lot of the comedy in the movie, I think the funniest moments came from him. But like just his uh portrayal, I think, as just a gangster, like he is the mob boss. He's like I love the line when he was being arrested at towards the end of the movie where he was basically telling Gordon, he said, I own the boys in blue. And he said, Gordon said, you don't own all of us, and then opened the door and all the cops were out there. Like that was such a fantastic moment for both Gordon and for I think Falcone in terms of just the back and forth. And just the whole thing, I like that they introduced the thing from the comics where Catwoman's actually his daughter. Like that was really cool. And I just think his performance in general was very, very uh like he didn't overact the part. Like he played the character the way he should have. And I think a lot of the acting in that movie was very, very true to the way the characters act in the comics and in other media. So like across the board, the acting is was fantastic in this movie. Moving on to our next question. What was your favorite scene in The Batman? And I want to start this one. I think out of all the scenes, the one that I just keep thinking about over and over and over again was the scene where Batman is interrogating the Riddler in Arkham Asylum. Batman went into the Arkham Asylum thinking that Riddler knew who he was Bruce Wayne. And then there's the slow build of their conversation back and forth, and Riddler's just he's just saying Bruce Wayne in such a haunting, menacing, almost like mocking way. And then but the moment in which he revealed that he actually doesn't know Batman is Bruce Wayne, you could have heard a pin drop. The movie was silent, the theater was silent. That was such a powerful moment, and because we all thought he knew who he was. I'm like, and I was thinking, where are they going from here? What are they gonna do? He can't have someone knowing who he is. I've seen the movie twice, and it hit both times.
As soon as he realizes that Riddler doesn't know, there's a sense of relief, and everyone in the theater had that sense of relief too.
Yeah.
And that was a really moving scene.
Hmm.
I guess I can go now, and I'm a bit of a sucker for action scenes and things like that. I'm not going to go to the exact detail as you did describing that one moment, Matteo. I was just a really big fan of the Batmobile chase scene. I am a sucker for that Batmobile. I think it's really, really cool what they've done with it. It's just like it looks like a regular car, and you kind of see him like building and tinkering with it, and then finally getting to see the Batmobile, because it's really a character sometimes, right? Like when
Hmm.
like the amount of attention that a lot of these movies and even the comics give to like the car itself, the black car with the blue flames and a lot of that kind of stuff. It worked really, really well against like all of the explosions and stuff that were like red and smoke and things like that. It stood out. And that action sequence on the highway where he's chasing Penguin, great scene, good action, and I had a lot of fun with it.
Both great choices. I think mine was just, it was a very heartwarming scene, but I really liked Well, I guess it's two scenes, but it's specifically the second scene. But I like there's very few Alfred and Bruce Wayne scenes in the movie, but they're very powerful scenes when they do happen. And I think the scene like prior to Alfred's little like accident, we'll call it, and then the scene following it were both very powerful scenes, both in demonstrating like Bruce's feelings toward Alfred and his role as kind of like a stand-in father figure. And I felt like both of those scenes were very heartwarming and touching and did a lot for those characters and framing Bruce Wayne as a person. So I really enjoyed those scenes.
Now to kind of venture off and think about what we would want in future Matt Reeves films. So villains are a very important part of Batman movies. So what villain or villains do you want to see appear in future Batman movies directed by Matt Reeves? I'm going to say mine right off the bat. Like, and they could have potentially hinted towards it in the movie. I mean, they did, but let's see if it becomes something. I want to see Hush. In the movie, we see what we believe to be Tommy Elliott's father, who is a reporter. And in the little montage where they were giving all the exposition about the past, they wrote the word Hush over his name. And I'm like, okay, that would be a cool way to introduce Hush. I don't know if I would want Hush in the next movie, but I think Hush would be the perfect final movie villain. It's a personal villain to Bruce Wayne. And I think that would probably be a good way, if there's only going to be 3 movies, to end it with Hush as the villain of the third movie.
Hutch is definitely one I want to see too. I have a very clear idea of what I'd want as a trilogy, and in that sense, I think that Hush should be the next one, because I think that Riddler was a Batman adversary, and now we need a adversary for Bruce Wayne. I think Hush would really highlight that, and I also want them to build to Court of Owls. And if I look at a trilogy of movies with the Court of Owls as villains, I personally like seeing the scope. It makes sense for Court of Owls to come after Hush than before, because they're probably a much bigger, wider reaching threat than a single person with a vendetta. But I do think that Hush, with the and like I've been watching a lot of interviews with Matt Reeves, and Matt Reeves essentially, like, the way that this movie even came to be was Warner Bros. Called him up while he was working on Planet of the Apes and was like, "We want you to do Ben Affleck's Batman movie." And he read the script and he basically came back and was like, "This is a cool movie, but I'm, one, not available right now because I'm doing Planet of the Apes, and two, if I was going to do a Batman movie, this is how I would do it." And he said he was always invested in like the psychological nature of the character and less on like the superhero action aspect. And he's like, the script I read was great, but it wasn't a great movie for me to explore the character. And then apparently they called him back and was like, "We do want to do that movie and we're willing to wait." And so if he's going to keep up with this idea of like this psychological battle for Bruce Wayne and for Batman, I feel like Hush is the perfect next step because it will challenge his Bruce Wayne persona. And I feel like that, and then they can build to Court of Owls, which can really dive down into like the legacy of Thomas Wayne and what it means for him in the city to balance both being, maybe Bruce Wayne, the leader, because if he takes down the Court of Owls, there needs to be something to fill the void, as well as being Batman, the kind of like savior.
Yeah, I was also leaning towards the Court of Owls for my pick, and I was thinking like it could work maybe as a secondary kind of thing because right now, well, at the end of the movie, Gotham has been destroyed, and there is a power vacuum because the mob families are gone, and a lot of the crime bosses and stuff are going to be fighting for what's left of that empire. Right? Riddler did a number on the city, flooded everything, and a lot of stuff is destroyed. Penguin's going to make a move, you know that. The Court of Owls, I feel like where Gotham is right now would fill that void quite nicely because like, oh, okay, all these old mob bosses thought they were the ones in charge. We are. And we're going to come out of the shadows now and readjust the city down our path. our designated way of doing things. And that's how you could also tie in potentially if they want to do a Robin, because the Grayson family was tied to the Talons and everything as well, right? It would be a great way to introduce Dick Grayson into all this as well, and having Bruce defending this kid from one of the Talons who's trying to abduct him or something and try to get him indoctrinated. That would be a great personal struggle with Bruce as well. He has to balance being Batman, but he also has to balance being a father or an older brother figure. I'm not going to give a third villain because, like, okay, we all know that like it would be really awesome to see Mr. Freeze or Joker or something like that. But I feel like Joker's been done a lot recently, and they need to kind of like maybe set him aside for a few other characters. Like, yeah, we can have Joker and like laughing in Arkham and stuff every now and then, right? That'd be cool. But Batman has such a wide like rogues gallery. I feel like some of the lesser known ones maybe should probably pop up before him, right?
Mm-hmm. And then that's actually a good segue into our next question, which is, what Batman villain do you want to see adapted in film that hasn't been yet?
I think my answers remain the same. There aren't a lot of Batman villains that haven't been adapted in film, and many of them are minor, but I think my answers remain the same. I think Hush and Court of Owls at this point are
Yeah.
my most wanted.
Yeah. Like for me, I do want Hush, but the thing is, like, Matt Reeves' Batman movies are very grounded. They're going to be very grounded, I feel, at least as long as he's making them. And I do want some of Batman's sort of like metahuman type villains. Like, I really want to see Clayface. Clayface, I think, has the potential to be a
Me
villain,
too.
if like a main villain or one of the main villains of a Batman movie. But he's too out there, I think, for a grounded film. Especially if like, I want them to adapt the way he is in the comics. I want that big blob monster that can shapeshift and whatever. I want that version of Clayface. Um, but another one I thought of just now is Hugo Strange. I think Hugo Strange would actually be really good in the Matt Reeves movies. I think he could fit in quite well, just the whole psychological thing and
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually really want him as well. I'm hoping he plays a major role in the Arkham Asylum spin-off series that's going to be going to HBO Max. That's the only reason I
yeah.
didn't say him, is because I'm assuming he's going to show up there.
Hmm. How about you, Gino?
Uh, honestly, like it's hard. It's hard for me to come up with something like this. Maybe I don't know, the Mad Hatter. That would be cool. He's kind of like psycho and crazy, and I don't know. I think it would be interesting just to see that kind of psychosis. But I know rights and stuff would be like just a nightmare for something along those lines for like Alice and all that kind of stuff.
Actually, probably not. But um, so the next question is, who are your favorite Batman villains? But I kind of split this into two. So, who is your favorite quote unquote popular Batman villain? Like your A tier Batman villain, the ones that are in every story, the ones that everyone wants to see: Joker, Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman, Two Face, like those ones, the ones that get way more attention than the small guys.
I was gonna say my favorite popular one probably has to be Bane, just because of I like all of the funny memes and stuff with Bane, and Matteo always does his like really funny Bane voice.
You think the darkness is your ally?
But yeah, I really like what they did with Bane's character in the Harley Quinn series, and I've had way more laugh out loud moments at that. And going back and watching The Dark Knight Rises, I can only hear animated Bane now for for that voice, and it's just like, this is great. I'm not even mad. I love Bane. I thought it was funny, and he's an intelligent villain too. He's not just like this super like big strong guy that you saw in Batman Forever. That's literally just like a joke that has an inflatable suit, but like the guy's like essentially a dictator. He's quite also like intellectual, but when he goes mad and goes like gets angry and he uses his venom and stuff, he's also very imposing physically as well. So I thought it's a good duality.
I was going to keep mine short and sweet because it's kind of a cop out, but I think I have to pick Joker. Just Joker he is the ultimate Batman villain. He is capable of doing a lot of damage. He's the only villain aside from Bane really that really broke Batman in the comics, and he's portrayed the most, and probably he's portrayed the best in movies. And just, yeah, he's overused, but there's a reason why he is. And for that, like there's just so many iconic Joker performances and appearances in comics. I can't pick anyone else.
My favorite popular one is also the Joker. I enjoy multiple interpretations of him, and I agree with everything you said, and that's kind of all.
So on the other hand, now, the next question: who is your favorite lesser known or obscure Batman villain? The one like the villain that hasn't really cracked through or has punched through pop culture yet.
So I'll kick this one off. So again, I I struggled with interpreting popular versus lesser known mostly because I don't think there are many lesser known Batman villains anymore, and the ones that are lesser known, in my opinion, are pretty. There's a reason they're lesser known, um, because they're not good. So I'm going with what I consider to be, which is my favorite Batman villain, and he's popular kind of now, but I still wouldn't put him in the tier of like Joker and Bane and Penguin and stuff. But Ra's al Ghul is the number one Batman villain for me, and I know he's definitely more popular than being an obscure character anymore, especially since Nolan's movies and his appearances in Arrow and Gotham and Young Justice and everything else. But definitely my favorite Batman villain.
Yeah, for me, and like this is one character I think that's gonna like they're announced to be a villain in a movie upcoming movie actually. But Firefly is my favorite lesser known Batman villain. Like, yeah, Brendan Fraser's going to be playing him in Batgirl, but prior to that, Firefly is one of Batman's oldest villains, but he's still like C or D tier. He's not been in a lot of like big stories. Yeah, he's had some really cool designs. Like I love his design in the Arkham games, but like he's just a side quest villain. And then also his design, especially in the Batman, where he has like this really high tech suit where he can fly. Like it's so sleek. It's really well designed, and like there's not really much to his character. Like, yeah, he's a pyromaniac, and I think he's like completely covered in like burns and stuff. But I think there's a lot that they could do with that character still. And yeah, he's been butchered in Gotham. Brendan Fraser's on the comeback. Like he's on the his so star is rising again in Hollywood, and a lot of the set pics that have come out from Batgirl of the Firefly costume are really cool. So I just think that there's a chance Firefly could become really popular after that movie. So while he's still kind of obscure, I think I should just say, hey, I liked Firefly before he was cool.
I'm going to go back to one of Mateo's previous picks. I'm going to say Clayface just because the idea of a shapeshifter really challenges Batman as a detective. Because if one of your villains is able to change shape and change forms and make a getaway, how are you going to find them, right? Also, there's a few different Clayfaces, I believe. I think there's like one or two. How many are there? Two or three?
Off the top of my head, I think there's three, but like the main one is Basil Carlo.
Yeah, the actor. Yes, another great Harley Quinn comedy
Reference.
villain here. Great
Yeah.
great character, and just having like, for instance, like shapeshifting can also be like this amorphous blob, but also like physically imposing and challenging Batman in that regards. Clayface is great. We need a movie with Clayface.
Now we're gonna now we're gonna dip our toe into the Batman comics. What's your guys' favorite Batman comic book storyline? For me, I have to go with a classic, uh, and it's a modern classic. I love the first volume of the Batman New 52, which is the first Court of Owls storyline. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, they had the best book in the whole New 52. The New 52, a lot of it was a mixed bag, but Batman was not. Batman came out running. They had like all the characters had already been established. Like Dick Grayson was already Nightwing. Red Hood, Jason Todd was Red Hood. Like the characters had history already, and like we knew all these characters' side stories. So I was happy that they didn't tell them again. And then just the whole introduction of the Court of Owls was fantastic, and how they are involved with everything. in Gotham City. Like, just what a well done story. Their entire run on Batman, actually. I'm just gonna put it out there because like they also did the I always get it's Death of the Family or Death in the Family. I know there's the old book and then there's the one with Joker cuts his face off. That was weird. But then they did their 0 hour, like, or 0 year. They did so many great stories during that era of Batman, and I'm just gonna put the entire Snyder Capullo run.
I'll springboard off you because mine is one of those Snyder storylines, Death of the Family. I think it's the best Batman story, period. Like I've read all the classics. I've read Long Halloween and Year One or whatever it is,
Yeah, Killing
um,
Joke.
and Killing Joke, Batman Returns. Like I've read all the big ones, but Death of the Family just hits something very, very different. Like it's such a powerful Joker and Batman story that culminates in such an extravagant way that really kind of sheds, like, despite the fact that these characters are so storied and they've been explored to death and their relationships have been explored to death, it like the climax and the resolution of the story sheds a lot of light on their relationship and why their relationship has been allowed to persist for so long, despite how kind of almost tired it is. Like almost like it,
Mhm.
like how can they have been battling for this long without Joker ever figuring out who Batman was, and like shedding that light on and shedding that perspective on that conflict is so satisfying. I'm not going to spoil it, but I would highly suggest that one to anybody.
My number one favorite Batman story is probably actually the first Batman book that I read, which was Batman: The Return of Bruce Wayne. And it follows Batman after he got blasted back in time by Darkseid, and he's basically jumping in between all these different time periods, and so he gets literally shot back to the Stone Age, and Batman loses his memory, and he goes and kills this giant bat, wears it as a hood, and he's running around with like cavemen and stuff, and then he's sailing around the Caribbean and stuff with Blackbeard and some pirates and things. And he also became like a Puritan, or like in the early colony days of North America. And it's a time travel story, but except he only goes forward in time, but you're following the events of Bruce Wayne throughout history as well. So like there's this we find out later on in the book that, oh, there's this tribe of ancient people called the Miyagani or something, and they worship this bat god that did all these things. And there's also like some ancient treasures and stuff. It's really really interesting because like it turns out that Batman inspired all of these events that happened as part of Gotham's past because he was shot back in time. And it's a great story. It was the first like big comic book that I read, and it was my first Batman comic. So I'm gonna have to say the complete story of Batman: The Return of Bruce Wayne.
Honestly, Gino, I think that is an often overlooked Batman book. I'm actually really happy that you mentioned it. The next question is, which DC character do you enjoy Batman teaming up with the most? There's actually a lot of picks because like you can talk about comics, you can talk about TV shows, and honestly, like my first real introduction to the DC universe and Batman's relationships with a lot of heroes and characters were in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited series. And that's where I was introduced to Batman teaming up with Superman a lot. So World's Finest is the label that they give Batman and Superman. They've been done in animation through and in comics in the Batman Superman uh series, and just the whole thing where like there's Superman the Boy Scout does things a specific way. He follows he follows the rules, and then Batman, he's brooding, and he does things his own way. And the way they clash together, like they're just two opposites, and yet they still have this fantastic chemistry with each other. And I just like there's a lot of like the light of Superman, the dark of Batman. I just love all the parallels, or sorry, all the clashing ideas and ideals of everything about Metropolis and Gotham. Like it just those two characters work so well. They did a movie of them. like it or not. And they did kind of portray the Batman and Superman relationship, I'd say, decently well in BVS, but I just love especially the stories that they did in Justice League Unlimited and the original Justice League animated series. Like those ones are the ones that stand out to me. Like we need to get more of those. Like I heard that the newest Batman and Superman comic is actually quite good, and I do want to give that a read. So I will mention those, but also shout out to Batman and Green Arrow in Justice League Unlimited.
Okay, I guess it's my turn now. Matteo, I thought you were honestly going to say Batman and Scooby Doo was your first real team up. I I didn't really know who Batman was as a character, like outside of like those like 80s 90s movies that we watched with our cousin a lot.
Mhm.
I thought it was just this goofy TV guy, and then mom and dad grew like that with Adam West, and then we had this VHS tape of like Batman meets Scooby Doo, and there was like 7 episodes of that. I'm like, oh okay, that was fun. But in a more serious note, I can't believe you didn't also say Batman and Robin, and seeing of course Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson teaming up, going around fighting crime. It's a combination as old as peanut butter and jelly, and having Batman and his young ward going around fighting crime, kicking bad guys in the face. It is definitely a treat to whenever Batman and Robin, any of the Robins for that matter, actually like team up and go and fight crime.
We need to see it in a live action movie. It's time.
We
Yep.
have seen live action.
We
The
need to
'90s
see
movies
it
don't count.
done well in a
We need to see
live
it done
action
right.
movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Because Chris O'Donnell's Robin was like 30 years old. I'm like, that's not believable. I'm adopting a 30-year-old man.
We saw it in The Dark Knight Rises, Matteo.
No, that doesn't count. I cringed when I heard that in the theater. What's your real name? Robin. Come on.
Yeah, that's the name, Robin.
That was cringe.
Mine would definitely have to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Batman and TMNT is a great comic, and everybody should read it.
Well, they're not DC characters.
Maybe not. But where else can you get the amazing quote of, "This is where my parents died, Raphael," and then he's like, "Cal, a bummer."
Oh, God.
Oh, that is cringe.
Yeah.
You'd expect that from
But
Michelangelo.
Dang, Batman's so sad that he made Raphael the cool one, like goofy.
yeah. But on a serious note, I actually really like Batman's relationship with Wonder Woman.
You're a Team
And
Wonder Bat.
yeah, and
That's the
especially
ship.
when they are actually a love interest, I actually really like that. I really like that relationship between them because they're very, very different people, but they're also very similar. That's the thing. It's like Wonder Woman is almost between. I would almost say between Batman and Superman. She kind of has like the hope and like the lightness of Superman, but she also has the like understanding of like what the world needs that Batman has. Like she doesn't sugarcoat things. She's willing to be more aggressive. And when
Mm.
her and Batman are together, I really feel like there's a really interesting dynamic that happens there that I feel is missing when Wonder Woman's with Superman. Because I feel like Superman makes Wonder Woman into a more campy character. He makes her into like another Superman. Whereas I feel when she's with Batman, you really get down to like the core of her character and the core of the person she is, and the struggles that she has internally as somebody who both has to um, be like this heroic icon for her people and for women and for human beings while also needing to get done what needs to get done and the toll that that can take, having that kind of like being a beacon of hope but also needing to sometimes be the one who has to make the tough choices or the tough
Mm.
calls. So I
Yeah,
really like their relationship.
yeah. I think they were actually. They may have been a couple, if I remember correctly, in the DC animated universe.
I
And
think so.
yeah, that was.
And they also had a bit of a romance in the DCEU. Not really a
Yeah,
romance, but they had like
there
a
was
weird
something
tension.
there.
There's a tension.
I enjoyed that, honestly. If that were to if that was going to be something that they were going to explore in future movies, I would have been down for it. The last question before our rapid fire round is going to be, if any other character were to permanently take on the mantle of Batman, who would it be?
He's the Bat Hound.
I'm going to just say mine right now. It's Dick Grayson. And I
I
know,
second that.
Dick Grayson, his whole thing with not being Nightwing is he doesn't want to be in the shadow of Batman. But if Batman were to die or whatever, there's no one else I would think would be comfortable of taking on that mantle aside from Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson is the most competent, I'd say, out of all the Robins. He has the most complete package. He's got the fighting skill, the agility, the detective ability of that one would require to have to become Batman. And he's like, I forgot what book it was, but Batman thinks Dick can be the leader of the Justice League. So if you have that sort of uh what's the word I'm looking for? If you have that uh the support from Batman to become basically the leader of all the heroes in the DC universe, there's no way he can't be Batman. So I gotta go with Dick Grayson.
The second Matteo on that one as well. And also while the may I tie this back to my favorite comic book line again for the return of Bruce Wayne. While Batman was in the past doing all of that stuff, Dick Grayson did become Batman. And
those books are really good, by the way.
Damian Wayne was Robin. So you have Dick Grayson as the father figure and Bruce Wayne's son as Robin. It was quite entertaining. I think it was Dark Mirror, Matteo. That was the line where Dick Grayson was Batman.
Black Mirror was one of the books, but basically up to New 52, Dick Grayson was Batman.
See, I completely disagree with you guys. I get why people feel like it's this birthright for Dick Grayson to be Batman, and I even understand why Batman would want Dick Grayson to be Batman, but I think that's exactly why he shouldn't be Batman, because I don't think Dick Grayson is Batman. I think Dick Grayson is too he leans too much into the light to be able to fully be Batman. He would never be able to be Batman, and I think that's why Nightwing fits him better. And I don't think he should be Batman. I really don't think that his story and his character fits Bruce Wayne's vendetta. I really don't. I actually don't think anybody could take on this mantle. Like, the more and more I think about it, I'm like, who could? And I actually don't think there is somebody that would be able to fully take on the mantle that Bruce has set. But I can at least say this. I think it would have to be like a new character that they start building to. I don't think it can be any of the characters that are already in the Bat family. I think none of them fit what it means to be Batman.
Yeah. Well, that's why even in 100 years, Bruce Wayne is still Batman. In Batman 100, he's this crinkly, wrinkly old man that still hasn't given up the mantle.
Well, that's the thing is I think there are characters who could take Batman as a mantle. I just don't think the characters we have now would work. I think they wouldn't be Batman, right? Like, they would be something else. And a lot of them, their own personas fit them. Like, Nightwing fits Dick Grayson, Red Hood fits Jason Todd. If I was going to say if one of the Robins should be Batman, I think it would be Tim Drake. I don't think it would be Dick.
Yeah, but Tim Drake's got a lot of the similar things to Dick Grayson. Like, they're both very lighthearted. Tim is a fantastic detective, but he doesn't have nearly as much experience. And for my money at least, he's not as good as a fighter as Dick Grayson. But that's a good point, though. Like, I do agree with the fact that the mantles that the Bat family has now fit them better. But I think DC actually is going to make a new Batman because they're currently planning on, I think, killing the entire Justice League, including Batman. So someone is going to have to take on the mantle. And I know they introduced Lucius Fox's, I think it's his brother or his son or something, as Batman, and he's going to be the protector of New York City. And he, I think, has been somewhat positively received by fans. So he's a relatively minor character. he's been somewhat well received by fans. So like I think he might actually become the main Batman of the DC universe for as long as they decide to keep the Justice League dead for, which probably won't be a very long time. So
Yeah. I almost want them to introduce a relative of Alfred to become Batman.
yeah, we got Julia Pennyworth already, and she's not that great. So
I feel like Alfred would be my next. I would, if he wasn't so old, he would be Batman. He's the
Well,
only
there
one
was an
capable.
episode of the Adam West TV show where Alfred did become Batman, and it was very funny.
now we're gonna move on to our rapid fire round. I have picked 5 questions here. There's no like specific theme with these questions. You're just 5 really fun Batman questions. I think that our listeners would like to hear. So, speaking of the Bat family, who are your guys' favorite member of the Bat family? For me, it's Dick Grayson. No questions asked. Like
Jason Todd.
Bat Cow.
Bat Cow.
Yep.
Can't say I'm surprised.
Yep. I like those trolley characters.
This one might make you guys think a little bit. What is the best designed bat symbol?
My favorite one is, I don't know if this is just the classic or standard one, but I think the one that's just like the yellow background with like fat looking bat. Like the classic one, I think is the best one. I actually don't like any of the live action ones in comparison.
Mine is Batman Beyond. As much as I like Ben Affleck Batman symbol and the Christian Bale Batman bat symbol, I have to go with Batman Beyond. I just love how the red pops, and like it's a nice sleek design. It's nothing like anything we had seen before. Love Batman Beyond.
I probably have to say it was the New 52 run of Batman, where it was like the black bat on like just a slightly, it was like almost like a yellow trim around the outside of it. Either that, or I have to say the one from The Batman, like the TV show.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, I think the one you're thinking of is the Rebirth bat symbol, not New 52. New 52
Oh,
is
okay.
just black on gray.
Oh, it's black. Oh, okay, then yeah, the one that had like the yellow trim
Mhm.
along the outside of the bat. That one.
So the next question is, what is your guys' favorite Batmobile?
The Tumbler.
Oh God, really?
Yep. Because every time it breaks, there's another vehicle in it. I was expecting like after like the third time, it was just like going to be a unicycle or a pogo stick or something. After that, it was great. Tumbler breaks apart. There's a bike inside of it. That was really cool. I liked it for that reason. But it's more like a bat tank than a Batmobile.
Yeah, I wanted to go first because I was going to say none. I despise the concept of the Batmobile. I don't like cars, and all cars look the same to me, so I can't possibly answer this question.
Really?
Really?
Okay.
I don't like cars. I think cars are boring.
For me, this was a tough decision. It was between 2, but I'm gonna go with the one. And I know it could be recency bias, but I love the Batmobile from the Batman. It's just chef's kiss. It looks like a muscle car. That car looks powerful, and that's what I want in the Batmobile. It's got to put fear in people's eyes, just like Batman does. So this one I think doesn't require any explanation whatsoever. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, or Arkham Knight. I'm on Team Arkham City.
Definitely Arkham City.
Arkham City. Let's make it 3 for 3.
There we go. Now, our last question in our rapid fire round is: what is your favorite Batman TV series? If you're really crazy, you could say Gotham, I guess, but
Mine is the Batman.
yes.
I always enjoyed the Batman because I loved how creepy Riddler looked.
Joker was creepy in that too.
Yeah, in general, it's really good. And honestly, I hate to admit this, but it's the only animated Batman show I've watched.
We got to fix that. You'd really like Batman the Animated Series. It's phenomenal.
It is number one, followed very, very, very closely by Batwoman on the CW.
Oh God.
Oh God.
The Hub World does not condone any watching of Batwoman. Please do not watch it. Mine is Batman the Animated Series. That show is perfect. It built an entire universe of animated shows that is also phenomenal. And I'm really excited to see the spiritual successor series that Bruce Timm and Paul Dini are working on for HBO Max.
I want to say Batman the Animated Series because I know it's the best one, but I also didn't watch enough of it. I do really like The Batman as well, Jules, so I'm going to have to go with that one. But whenever I hear Batman, it's always Kevin Conroy.
So that is the end of our rapid fire round. We have a few questions left, and these ones are the ones that are going to really make you think, I feel. Maybe not the first one, but the ones after that for sure. So question 15 is, what is your favorite animated Batman? But remember, this is not just animated series. there have been a lot of animated Batman movies, and Batman has appeared in a lot of animated shows that aren't Batman shows. So there's a huge pool.
I would like to begin. Lego Batman.
See, there's another one right there.
Lego Batman, yes. I was hoping I was gonna have that hot take and be like, Lego Batman's my favorite.
Mine's Batman the Animated Series Batman, but because I just had talked about that in the rapid fire, I'm just gonna give my second one, which is the Batman that I believe his name is Jason O'Mara. He's the guy that voiced Batman in that continuity that just wrapped up with Darkseid War. He is a fantastic Batman. And Batman had the most movies out of any DC hero. Like I think he had like 7 movies. So he had a lot of time to flesh out the character. He did a fantastic job. And like you got to see him interact with all these characters, and that hadn't been done since the DC animated universe. I'm honestly a little upset that they did end that universe because it was just so well done. But they are starting a new one right now. They're only a few movies in. Batman's not been in it very much. He's had one movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I am looking forward to the new continuity that they're going to start building out. But I got to give it to Batman from the DC straight to DVD movies. Number 16. This is a fun question here. If you could take one gadget from Batman's utility belt, what would it be? Gino, I think there's only one right answer for you.
Can I have 2?
If one is bat shark repellent, you can have another one.
Okay, bat shark repellent because it had to be said. But in all seriousness, no, grappling hooks are cool. I think that's like the only right answer.
See, I kind of was a little creative with this one. I picked the homing beacon on the utility belt because the homing beacon can bring me the Batmobile, and then if I have that, I can drive the Batmobile around. I think Batman would have picked that as well.
I think mine would have to be in the Arkham games when he has that gel that just explodes.
Explosive gel.
I think I want that. I like the idea of I just need to get in a place and I just detonate.
Now, these are the 4 questions that I'm most looking forward to. We'll start with this one, which is, what is your biggest Batman hot take? Could be anything. Could be about anything Batman's been in, anything pertaining to his corner of the DC universe. It could be his villains, his side characters, what have you. It could be about anything. Would anyone like to start?
Well, my hot take is that Jason Todd is better than Dick Grayson, but I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's just a take.
I don't know.
That's a take. I think lots of people would agree. But my hottest Batman take is probably that I think at this point, Batman's moral code does more to hold his character back than to further it.
So like the no kill, no guns.
I think the no guns is fair, but I think the no kill. I think especially with the way live action interpretations of him have gone lately, I think the no kill Batman, it limits his character and it's so unrealistic because I'm sorry. You can say whatever you want about Robert Pattinson's Batman doesn't kill, but there are at least 20 people probably died in that car drive. Like that's the thing is like people clearly die as a result of the things Batman does. Like maybe he doesn't personally murder. The best example of what I'm talking about is in Arkham Knight, where you literally can drive the Batmobile as a freaking tank into people. And the developers had to say, oh, well, when you drive into them, it actually delivers a shock that flings them away and makes sure that they don't get hurt. And I'm just like, that's so stupid, because now you're creating stupid storytelling reasons for why Batman isn't killing. If you want to introduce these crazy weapons and these massive explosive car chases and all these big action pieces into Batman, like, just drop the whole idea of Batman doesn't kill. And like they don't necessarily have to completely shift it. Like they can still keep his moral code of like he doesn't want to kill or he doesn't prefer to kill, but I think the whole idea of like he will do anything except kill. Like I hate that idea because it's like he's clearly killed people before.
Think of just the medical costs that these guys have to pay to get back into like they'd wish he'd killed them. Because they are like screwed for the rest of their lives.
But some of them may have just died from being beaten to a pulp and not gotten the right medical attention, right? Like everything feels so unrealistic about his moral code. Again, like I think it's okay to write Batman as like he doesn't want to kill or he won't kill. Like he's not going to shoot somebody with a gun, and he's still going to be that guy that if Joker jumps off a building, he's going to jump off and save him. He's not going to be indifferent to the idea of killing. But I think when they put him into these dilemmas of like Batman won't even kill Joker when he's holding like a gun to his son's head and is like going to kill him, and he would like actually allow that thing to happen rather than be a killer. Like I don't believe those stories with Batman anymore, because I'm just like, there's no way you haven't killed, dude. Like you've killed. You haven't done it intentionally or on purpose, but you've done it inadvertently. And so like I feel like he needs a different philosophy toward the idea of killing, of like intentional or premeditated murder is not good. But I feel like there needs to be more of this. There's less of an identity of Batman doesn't kill. I'm more this identity of Batman is not a killer. But people have died as a result of Batman. Many people have.
I never even thought of that, and I don't know how I feel about that. But one thing I do feel strongly about is pertaining to, I guess, all Batman media, really. Like I said, Joker's my favorite Batman villain. He's been done well in animation with Mark Hamill's Joker. He's been done fantastically in live action movies and in comics. Like there's so many, there are dozens of fantastic Joker stories, and it's an event when they bring Joker back. But I could honestly say that I would appreciate it if DC just shelved Joker for like 10, 15 years. And I would not be upset by that. I think Joker having to be in everything holds back Batman's villains. Like, okay, it is cool that we saw Joker in the Batman, but I don't really care to see him in live action again or in the set of films because, like, okay, it'd be weird seeing him as a secondary villain because the general public always wants Joker. He's just such a huge character, and he is Batman's nemesis. He's the number one villain in the Rogues Gallery. But give someone else the time to develop into a big Batman villain and everything. Like, and because like no one's gonna beat Hamill, no one's gonna beat Heath Ledger. Just take a break and develop someone else. I really think that like give the keys to another villain.
Mine also has to deal with Joker Matteo, and in particular to Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger was great, but honestly, a lot of the other performances we got with other actors playing Joker, I don't think Heath Ledger was the best Joker anymore. And I think it's a little spicy. I think Joaquin Phoenix did a really good job.
Hot. Okay, Joaquin Phoenix is fine. Thought you were going to say Jared Leto.
Like Dark Knight, I didn't think it was the greatest. It was a good movie, but I don't think it was the best. But that's like a different kind of smoldering, kind of hot kind of take.
Well, you'll answer what you think is the best later.
Yeah.
Well, let's say before we move on from this topic of Joker, can we all agree that the best Joker is not Heath Ledger? It's Mark Hamill.
Yes, absolutely. Mark Hamill's in everything. Because you can get video game Joker there, which was fantastic in the Arkham games, and then you also have him in the animated universe. He has probably played Joker longer than anybody in terms of just hours of work done as the character. And the voice is so iconic. Like, I love Mark Hamill's Joker. So the penultimate question is actually a very important.
It's not the penultimate.
It's not the penultimate. Sorry.
It's the penultimate.
Yes. Yeah, we actually have 3 questions left for those who didn't understand what we were saying. What is your favorite live-action Batsuit?
Ooh, this one's easy. BVS Batsuit, the armored Batsuit.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
The armored one.
Armored Batsuit, yep. It's a great homage to the armored Batsuit that Batman wears in
Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns, yeah. When he has that fight with Superman.
That is a great Batsuit, but that is not one I even considered, to be honest with you. For me, I have to go with the Batsuit from The Dark Knight. I really liked the Batsuit from Batman Begins, but it had the similar issue that Michael Keaton's Batsuit had, where Batman couldn't turn his neck. He had to move his entire body in order to change the direction he was looking in. And they addressed it in the movie. You're like, okay, yeah, you can be more flexible with the suit, but it's going to impact protection. Like you're gonna have spots between your armor plates that someone could shoot you or stab you through. And that bat suit, I think, had the best cowl. I loved what it did with the cape, how like Batman could glide with the cape. Also, I just think the bat symbol was solid. It wasn't fantastic. The utility belt was done well. Like it had all the elements that I was looking for in a really good Batman suit. And I don't think any other bat suit to date has been as well rounded as the Dark Knight / Dark Knight Rises bat suit. I would go with that one.
I actually think the best bat suit, like I'm looking at a picture of them now. I prefer the. I'm not sure which movie it's from. I think it's the Michael Keaton one
The very
with the
first
like
one.
yellow. Yeah, with like the yellow symbol and the yellow utility belt.
Hmm. Yeah, and he had Nike shoes.
I actually really like that style. And I'll tell you why. I think what I haven't really liked about the Batman suits as they have progressed is it's almost like his ears have gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. And I like the long ears. I think it's more
Yeah.
menacing. And I think Christopher Nolan's Batman suits, like the Dark Knight Batman suits, were like the shortest I'd ever want them to go. As much as I like the design of Ben Affleck's, but I still think like that original, that Michael Keaton one, were like the first time that almost like Batman's suit actually looked, not campy.
Yeah.
It's I think it's just classic.
Yeah, like with the Pattinson suit, they had to, if they would have made two changes to that suit, it would have been my number one. The thing is, I hate the bulging like tactical bag he has on his leg. To me, like that's just really weird, and like I think they hope they get rid of that in future movies. And I don't like the Dracula collar that he has. I'm not a fan of that big collar. Where like the cowl and the cape are one piece, like that's really cool, but I'm just not a fan of that collar. It's too big and it just doesn't fit Batman in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
But on to the second last question, and this is the real penultimate question. Just straight up, could be from anything. Who is your favorite Batman?
Arkham Batman is peak Batman. I don't think there's a better Batman out there. I think Arkham Batman is the best blend between the comic Batman and like the live action kind of realistic version of Batman. And yeah, I just don't think it's been done better. I think
Yeah,
Arkham Batman is the Batman.
that's peak Kevin Conroy.
Yeah. And like as to what I was saying before, like Kevin Conroy, whenever I read any of the books, when I think of Batman, that is the voice. And then the actual way that the Arkham games themselves pan out. It's a beat 'em up game that has the detective elements and the stealth elements. And those are the three things that Batman is known for: kicking the crap out of everyone, being super smart, and just being a badass. And you're spending like what, upwards of 20 hours with this character. It's like as if you're watching the movies or if you're watching all the shows and everything, but with video games as a medium, you get to explore the character and all the little nuances and stuff along the way that you just don't get anywhere else, like in a book or in a movie, because you yourself are the character. And that's just the magic of the Arkham games.
And I guess if I were to say like one live action Batman, I still think Ben Affleck's my favorite. He's just the perfect blend of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and it's a shame that things turned out the way they did. I really would have liked to see him get his own movie, but at least we get one more appearance of Ben Affleck's Batman in the Flash movie, but it'll be bittersweet. Now, on to the last question. What is the best Batman movie? For me, it's between two movies, but best Batman movie, like it depends on the day of the week, I guess, but for today it being a Sunday, the day we're recording this, I got to go with the Batman. And like just that movie, it showed that element of Batman that I've been wanting to see since I started going to the theater and watching movies. Like Batman has never been that much of a detective in any other movie. The fight scenes and his physicality were not on the same level as Ben Affleck's Batman or even Christian Bale's Batman, but Robert Pattinson's Batman was a tank. Like were shooting him at point blank. His armor was able to eat the bullets, and he was just so brooding. But the thing is, he was the most human Batman I felt because he made mistakes. This was a year two story, and Batman is very early on in his career, and he is in a very vulnerable position. He's wondering whether or not what he's doing is worth it. And by the end of the movie, he realizes it is worth it. And I have to actually change. I have to become a beacon of hope for these people. That is what I've been missing. And he learns that at the end of the movie. And I just find the journey of Batman throughout that movie is, for lack of a better term, it's more complete. It's more whole. There's more there. And just the performances from all the characters, not just the Batman and the villains, the side characters too, were all fantastic. The score was incredible. Every element of that movie is perfect. And the thing is, The Dark Knight's the same way. But I think as a starting point, I think for a franchise, the Batman is so fantastic. It's better than Batman Begins in that regard. So I have to go with the Batman. I'm just so excited for everything that is coming next with this franchise. The more I talk about it, I reassure myself. So I'm sticking to it.
I don't think I can say it better than Matteo did, but exactly that.
I do think the Batman is definitely the best starting point for any Batman, but I can't, in good faith, say that it's better than The Dark Knight. I can't. And it all boils down to one thing, and it will always boil down to one thing for me because this is just the type of storyteller I am. But I genuinely believe Batman is only as good as his villains. And even though the Batman has arguably the best supporting, I don't even think arguably, the best supporting cast of any Batman film, it has the best Batman. I think Robert Pattinson is the best Batman. Ultimately, what was lacking in that film was a compelling hero versus villain conflict. And I say this even though I liked Riddler, he had no presence in the film. Very, very minimal presence. And I understand that was the point of the film, and I do appreciate it for being that. And it's not a criticism of the film, but that's why The Dark Knight takes it for me. Having the tension of the hero and the villain going back and forth is so much more exciting to me than the hero going on like a goose chase. And I think the lack of the Riddler's presence in the story is what ultimately kept it from being better than The Dark Knight for me. Not even just the lack of him being there, but also just in general, just how he was. I thought it was a really good performance, but a lot of it was him behind a mask. And it just didn't feel like there was a real character there till the very, very, very end. And even then, he wasn't even part of the climax of the story. Psychologically, he was, but The Dark Knight still got to take it for me. It's so fantastically written, and the characters are so well done. Like, don't get me wrong, the relationship with Rachel is awful, and it always was. But the relationship between Gordon and Batman, and Dent and Gordon, and Dent and Batman, and then the Joker in the mix of that, as well as the
Batman and Alfred.
relationships with Alfred and Lucius Fox, like all of these, like Nolan did his relationships very well, and as much as his movies have aged in some ways where, like some scenes really, really think about them don't really make sense, or like there are things that you can definitely pick apart from The Dark Knight, but I think when it comes down to just the acting, the character work, and just the writing, like the dialogue, it's just too good. The Batman has definitely made me feel like Reeves will outdo The Dark Knight, but I don't think this one is outdoing it. I think this one comes close, but I think the next ones may be the one to really push beyond what The Dark Knight established as in my opinion, the pivotal and the peak Batman movie.
Very well said. So that was the final question. If no one else has anything to say, Gino, would you mind playing us out?
Yes, of course. That brings us to the end of today's quest. If you liked what you heard today, hit that like, subscribe, or follow button below. If you want to contribute to the conversation, let us know any ideas for upcoming 20 questions, or if you just want to share your thoughts, leave us a comment. We do read all of them. We'll see you next time at the Hub World. See ya.
Microsoft, make a new Banjo game. See ya, everybody.